What's cracking, everybody? XehrFelrose here, bringing you some Pokemon Go Battle League content. Today's video is the legend run that I had in the season of Dual Destiny, featuring the brand new Pokemon that was added to the world of Pokemon Go just the last week. That'll be Corviknight. This Corviknight is running the Legacy Attack Iron Head. If you evolve the Corviknight during the event period, you could get Iron Head. Otherwise, you may have to wait for a further time where you can Elite TM it. But I definitely prefer Iron Head in the Great League. Along with Sky Attack, Corviknight's a very strong individual pick. Basically replaces old Skarmory. And I have a pretty good IV Corviknight that I was able to capture this week during the event. So I wanted to pair it along with Azumarill. Azumarill works very, very well with Corviknight. Corviknight really does not do well against a lot of flyers, which the Azumarill has good play into with Ice Beam, and then also dealing with just basically like the anti-grasses, right? So we have with Azumarill, you're able to have a very strong and consistent closer on this team. And the third Pokemon, I think I have about 5 options for you, honestly. If you're this far in already, thank you very much. I know I like to talk a little bit at the beginning of these videos, but the last Pokemon here is a Shape Switch. You want to be using it to draw out the grass types in the back. This could be a Shadow for Alligator. Could be a Kanto Marowak Shadow if you have one. Could be a Dunsparce. Could be Dugong. Could be, honestly, you could run almost any, you could even run Diggersby if you want. Just try not to be too weak to things like Talonflame in the lead. But the third that I ended up with on this team was Shadow Annihilate. This thing, if Corviknight wasn't the feature of this team, this thing definitely is. You're going to see the games and why. So let's get into these games because I have about 4 sets worth of games, minus the really like cut and dry, like opponent just top lefted because they either didn't want to play or they were tanking or what have you. In this game, we have a Wigglytuff lead, which is a dominatingly good lead for us, and then they're going to safe switch into an Azumarill, which we don't really have a hard counter for on this team. I need to preserve Corviknight to a degree here in order to be able to take care of the Wiggly, but I also can say I'm going to get my Azumarill in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make to a Sky Attack with my Corviknight, and then I'm going to bring in my Azumarill in order to start to guarantee that I can win switch. I need to be able to keep Corviknight healthy enough to deal with the Wigglytuff, but also make sure that I keep Annihilate away from it. So opponent's going to hard swap back into their Wigglytuff here, and I'm going to go for the Play Rough. I'm probably not going to be able to switch in time in order to take this out, so we're going to go ahead and just continue to throw damage into this thing until the switch clock comes back up or the opponent takes me out, depending on whatever comes first here. I'm kind of hoping to be able to get rid of this thing. I'm going to go for the Ice Beam as soon as I get it. And then I'm hoping that whatever they have in the back, right? Most often with Wiggly teams, you're going to see either a Ghost or you're going to see a Mud Slap user of some kind. So I hard swap into my Corviknight here just to make sure that my Azumarill is still going to have play in the back. I feel like there's a chance that it might. So I'm going to go ahead and bank on that. Opponent lets the Wigglytuff go. They're down a shield. Azumarill is going to come back in. So at this point, I'm thinking whatever's in the back does not like Corviknight. But with 2 shields, I don't think that there's very much that this Annihilate can't handle. And we're going to start with a counter down on the Azumarill to get ahead on energy. Shadow Annihilate. You thought that the counter nerf pushed this thing out of the meta. The Shadow brought it right back in. Opponent has a Whiscash in the back, and they're going to bring it in here to try and finish this game. We're going to see who can come out on top here, the Shadow Annihilate or this Whiscash. Shadow Whiscash or Shadow Annihilate has so much, like, has so much damage. This thing's already in the red after just 1 charge move. And we're going to bring in the Azumarill. I was hoping to catch a move. Thankfully, the opponent does decide to throw their energy anyway, and we do get to the Ice Beam with 1 HP to pull the shield. That is huge here because we still now have a shield, and we just need to get to a charge move or counter down. We're going to get to the Rage Fist. Opponent not quite at 2 moves, and this Rage Fist will knock out the opponent's Whiscash, and they just have the Azumarill with a little bit of HP in the back, which they are not going to be able to get to a move, and that's going to do it. Good game to the opponent. 4 super sweaty sets. And if you're still here, thank you. We got another Wigglytuff lead, so we know what we're going to do here. We're going to just do the same old thing as last time. Expect the opponent to switch out, and they do, and they go into a Drifblim, and I don't really have a good answer on this team for Drifblim. I'm not going to lie to you. Now, I put out a team that was Wigglytuff, Drifblim, Corsola the other day. So that is my first expectation, is perhaps this team might be that same team. So I'm probably kind of hosed if that's the case, and that's one of the big things with this team that I don't like, is how weak it is to Drifblim. But Drifblim is not super common. It's kind of like you see it once in a while. So we kind of just accept the loss to the Drifblim here. If you see a Drifblim in the lead, I I don't really know what the right way is to deal with it because you probably just have a bad time. But if you're still here, I'm going to take this moment just to kind of show myself real quick, as I do offer coaching on Medify. The link is in the pinned comment and description down below. If you're looking to up your game, try and get some outside perspective, try and get over those hurdles of why, you know, whatever it is that you can't seem to break through and you just can't, you know, you just want to get someone else's opinion. That's a good time to get a coach involved, and not only myself, but there's other people on Medify as well. But on top of that too, I do have a Patreon server that is basically just for the YouTube members and Patreon members. It's a Discord server that has all of my teams, my meta write-ups and things for upcoming cups whenever I can get one of those out, and other things that you get early access to that won't necessarily always be on the YouTube channel. So if you want to support the channel and the family behind me, we always appreciate that kind of thing. So if you don't, that's okay. We still appreciate you being here. But that aside, the opponent is running the Gastrodon Wigglytuff core, so Corviknight really does handily break this core. I'm going to overfarm just by a bit more to see if I can't get enough energy for a move, but I don't want to let them throw a Swift here because that would be pretty bad. I'm going to immediately go into Annihilate here and get this counter down, and we are barely able to make it with just 1 HP. We're taking that game. Well played. So first 2 sets are going to be cut up a little bit. The second 2 sets, so I played 2 sets at the end of the night on stream on Thursday. On the end of the night on Thursday. And then we ended up playing 2 more sets, which you'll see the second 2 sets. I think those are uncut. Those are the first 2 sets of the Saturday stream where we hit Legend. So these are split over a couple of days, but I really I picked up this Annihilate, and it just went on a rip. There's so many Dugong safe switches to counter the Corviknights and other things that just the Annihilate is just so good into. Now we get a really nice situation here where we can throw Ice Punch, and this is one of the reasons why I love Ice Punch. Diggersby, Superior, other grass types, just a lot of things in this meta that, you know, Ice will do damage into. You already have counter and Rage Fist, and I'm going to make a decision here to say I've got enough bulk in Corviknight and Azumarill. They're only going to have 1 Pokemon left, and I can get this counter down, and the opponent decides not to play it out because whatever's in the back must not like Annihilate. Good game to the opponent. Next game up, we have Azumarill on the lead. This was a common lead for me in this team, but we were able to pull through. The way that I play these out is I actually stay in with Corviknight long enough to be able to whittle them down to a point where Annihilate can come in and get the counter down. You want to be keeping track of the opponent's energy here. They're going to get to Ice Beam on 5. They're never going to throw Play Rough. If they go to 7, I mean, they might throw a Hydro Pump, but we don't worry about those. Opponent's going to swap in to the Typhlosion, and this is one of the many reasons why I've enjoyed having Azumarill on my team. It is locking down so many positive matchups, whether it's going to be the recent surge in people running Safe Switch, Air Slash, Mandibuzz, fire types like Talonflame. There are a lot of things in this meta that Azumarill still has a really good amount of play into, and it was definitely one of the stronger things. This whole team was, like, everything on this team performed really well on the run to Legend. So this team is just incredible. Now, one of the things, since we're going to sit here in an Azumarill match for a little bit, Azumarill's IVs, okay? Obviously, Corviknight, highest rank you can get is best. When it comes to Annihilate, I literally just built the only shadow that I had saved from the time when it was in rotation last. And so I just built what I had. But Azumarill's IVs, these were ones that I had built back when Metacham was meta, and this was a IV spread that was able to beat it. But I've actually simmed it recently, and it does get a lot of nice wins. So if you have a defensively weighted Azumarill and you haven't built one yet, that's fine. It's actually not. It's actually pretty darn good. But we get destroyed by Talonflame in this game because Annihilate does not have the ability to overcome that, as neither does Corviknight. So unfortunately, the opponent had a double fire strat, which we do kind of lose to if they get the Talonflame on the Annihilate. But we pick up a 4-1 and get into the next set. But as I was going to say, any high rank Azumarill will do just fine here. You can literally just play, I've got best rank available. Now, I want you guys to pay attention to this matchup, okay? This is a Talonflame matchup into a Shadow Annihilate, and just want you to see how much work this thing can put in. Yes, we're taking a ton of damage off of those Incinerates, but we are able to get so much of this Talonflame down that it is no longer an issue for Corviknight, and then at that point, it's really just a matter of does the Corviknight do well in the back? Now, in this case, I threw right away, which was a poor thing for me to do here. Normally, I would want to go for an extra counter or two before doing that, but I thought that they were going to CMP me and try and throw a second move. Now, opponent's going to swap into a Drapion here, and Corviknight doesn't have, like, I'll be honest, like, Corviknight is kind of underwhelming in some degrees. When the super effective sand attacks are coming through, it doesn't look super effective at all. And that's because it doesn't have that same type attack bonus, and it does very small amounts of damage. But the steel flying typing is just so strong, especially with the moveset that Corviknight has. Now, unfortunately, my opponent gets to another move. They are running Aqua Tail, and I'm assuming they're running Sludge Bomb and not Crunch in this case. But that Aqua Tail getting through, me not switching faster, is going to be a problem. I'm going to go ahead and shield this because I think that I should be able to get off a move here, but the opponent actually has back-to-back moves, which means now my shield is wasted. I should have just saved the shield for Azumarill and hoped that whatever was in the back was going to be susceptible, and if we had the shield advantage on the Azumarill, we could win this game because we just need 2 Ice Beams to get the knockout, and we're nearly there. The opponent would have had to go for 2 charge moves, and I think we might have been able to get there, considering they threw on 7. They would have gotten to no more than 11 moves before, or they would have basically been able to get to 10 before we get to this next move. So they wouldn't have been able to get to 2 Frenzy Plants, and we actually would have been okay here. But unfortunately, Azumarill can't hold up to the Chestnut, and we're going to go down in that game. Well played. Next game up, we're going to have Corviknight against Azumarill yet again. Again, you're going to see me do the same thing. I found a strategy that works with the Azumarill, and I'm going to play it out. I know that a high-rank Corviknight can beat a high-rank Azumarill in even shield scenarios, and so I plan to just play that out until we get to a point where the Annihilate can swap in. And the key thing for this, for me, is I'll swap in Annihilate when the opponent is low on energy, so I can try and get the counter down without having to shield a move. Now, if the opponent overfarms, it may not be as easy to do, but you just have to try and get them basically down into the red, and then you can come in with the Annihilate. Now, if you end up having something like, let's say, Shadow for Alligator or something in the back, you might be able to switch out a little bit sooner, but because of the fact that we're so weak to the fairy typing here, we just have to wait until they're low enough. Now, opponent has a Corsola in the back, so a really strong core in Azumarill Corsola, and it being on Annihilate just basically means that they can shield once and farm me all the way down, which is really uncomfortable, but we are at least able to get to a second Rage Fist here in order to get this shield from the opponent. That will at least give us something out of this matchup, but Azumarill is going to have to put in a lot of work in this game, I'm not going to lie. So we are going to have to come in with the Azumarill because I want to try and keep my Corviknight healthy. Even though it's very low, it's healthy enough that it should be able to do something just in case there might be something like a Drapion in the back, right? Because those Poison Stings won't do enough to do much. So we're going to go ahead and, I mean, very often, like, Azumarill, Drapion are together. So it's pretty common to see an Azumarill lead with a Drapion in the back. It's just, you know, it is what it is, right? So we'll see what the opponent comes in with here, and then we'll try to adjust from there, but I'm already kind of up against the wall, and they're going to have an Annihilate in the back. So playable here, we're going to have to see what we're going to do. The opponent goes for the Rage Fist right away. I know that they have to get to 6 counters to get to the Rage Fist, so I'm going to keep a track of the energy. Opponent does not swap out. I'm waiting. I'm trying to be patient and wait for that second counter animation to start before I throw the Ice Beam. Get the shield here, and then we're going to be able to get to a move, but the opponent swaps out one before. I was paying attention. They went for 5 counters and then switched. So I go to try and catch the energy from the Azumarill here on my Corviknight, and if I can bubble down and have a move ready, the opponent should not be able to get to the Rage Fist, and it might not even be enough because it's a non-shadow. So we're going to be able to go for the play rough here, and I, for once, have to get the boom out in Great League with an Azumarill, but we take out the Annihilate for the game win. Good game. Rolling into this next game, we're going to have another Wigglytuff lead. These were done during Go Battle Weekend, or Go Battle Week, so there were a heck of a lot more people running things like Mud Slap, Charm, Astonish, and, I mean, look, it is what it is. Fast move teams are going to be helpful to get your games done quick, so I get it. But we have the Azumarill to be able to lock down this matchup against the Mandibuzz every time. I saw enough of these that it was worth having the Azumarill because there was a point in time where I'm wondering if Azumarill is the correct thing to have in the 3rd slot, or in the 2nd slot, I guess, depending on which way you look at it. And I made that decision. I'm like, you know what? There's enough things that Azumarill has done well into that I'm going to keep. And I'm one of those people that does not enjoy playing Azumarill at all. But when you're getting into the sweaty area of trying to hit Legend, I mean, sometimes you just got to play stuff that you don't normally play. As I played Wigglytuff on my way up this season, I think that's a first for me because I hate playing Wigglytuff. It's just, I don't hate playing it. I hate looking at it. It's just so, look at those big eyes and the stupid ears. And the fact that it just wobbles back and forth when it's trying to charm stuff. It just, man, it also just always is good into my teams. That's really the reason why I don't like it. But opponent is staying in and they're not swapping back out. So I immediately think that there's a chance that whatever's in the back could also be weak to Corviknight. Again, my mind goes immediately to a Mud Slapper here. Or even a Drapion, just some poison types, right? Just different things that are weak to Corviknight, because Corviknight's typing allows it to be very polarizing, right? You're going to notice, especially with Corviknight, that it has good matchups and bad matchups. And the neutral matchups kind of feel like they're not really, I mean, it's neutral. It's not going to feel good or bad, but I'm going to go for the Iron Head here right away and try and get rid of this thing and see what's in the back. I have a shield advantage for my Annihilate, and that's what's going to be helpful here. As I see the Gastrodon come in, I'm like, you know what? They're going to be able to farm me down before I can get to a move, most likely. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to just pop an Annihilate and start going for Rage Fist. I was trying to mind my timing, and I'm counting the opponent's moves, and I know that they are just at enough for an Earth Power. If they threw a Body Slam and I shielded that, that's fine, because then they can only throw another Body Slam before getting countered down, and they know it, they concede, and that's a good game. Next game, we get another Talonflame on the lead, and I've learned from my last 2 times of playing that match poorly, and so I'm going to try to make sure that I learn from my mistakes in this chat. I'm going to go for 9 counters, because that's the best timing into Talonflame before they throw anything. They're just loading up on energy, and that's fine. We're going to be able to get this Rage Fist in. Opponent throws right away, knowing that, I don't know if they knew that I was going to not get to a move, but they could have thrown one more Incinerate if they wanted to, but now they're going to come in with Superior. Boy, have I got a good surprise for them. They're going to go for probably an Aerial Ace as soon as they can here, but I'm just going to go for this Ice Punch, and the opponent lets it go. That is huge. This is a farm down range for Corviknight, but I'm not going to give it to him. I'm going to take the exact same thing that I did last time, and I'm going to apply it forward and see how far I can go with this this Annihilate. Now, because I want switch, right? I want to be able to put my Azumarill against the Annihilate. Now, the game does give us a nice... it's called damage registration error when you're not supposed to get the charge move through right before the opponent's fast move would knock out, but that's what happens here is we're able to get that Rage Fist in when the Talonflame normally would have KO'd us. So the game is doing us a favor here when it normally doesn't, because this game loves giving us 1-turn lag and things, but the opponent has a Pangoro in the back and they concede knowing that they're not going to be able to win this game, which they won't because I get to a player off, and that's a good game well played. Now, we end on another 4-1. This ends my first night with this team, but we are 17 points from Legends, so I come back ready and primed and ready to, ready to hit it next time, and the first lead is Superior, and I'm feeling great. Opponent's going to switch out. They come in with a Dunsparce, and man, this is exactly what Annihilate is doing on this team. We're going to be able to maintain switch advantage no matter what here, and I can even come out of this matchup with energy. Now, I'm going to try to go for a Ice Punch here. As soon as I can with good timing. I'm hoping that this knocks out. I'm not as familiar with Shadow Annihilate, so I don't know if it's going to knock out, and unfortunately it does not. So I am going to be forced to shield. If this was the case, I really would have preferred to just go for a full farm down and go for the multiple Ice Punches on the opponent's Superior. But once again, we're throwing Ice Punch, and if they're going to let it go, then that's fine with me. They're trying to save 2 shields for whatever's in the back, and the opponent has the Azumarill, so I'm going to go for a Rage Fist here and give myself a little bit of HP disparity. I can still save Corviknight to finish this game, and I'm just going to bring in my Azumarill and put it on theirs, and the opponent does concede, knowing that they're going to lose because of the Corviknight alignment. Good game. You get a good lead with Corviknight, you stay on that good lead with Corviknight if the opponent swaps out. That's the main thing. It doesn't matter how many shields I need. If I can keep the opponent... I mean, obviously you want to spend them wisely regardless, but if I can keep my Corviknight locked onto a Superior, it doesn't matter how much energy they get. It doesn't matter really what advantage they get if they don't get switch advantage and get their Superior away from Corviknight. They're going to have a bad time. So again, Azumarill lead, these were plentiful. I'm playing it out the exact same way, just trying to get off a couple of Sky attacks and wait for them to throw that second Ice Beam, and then I'm going to get into my Annihilate so that I can try to get a counter down. Opponent is over farming here a bit, but I'm just going to let the shields run. I tend to put my shields into Annihilate almost every time in this team. So opponent, however, comes in with that Air Slash Mandibuzz, and I'm feeling kind of sad. But this is why we have Ice Punch. Ice Punch does allow us to do very well in this matchup, and especially if they have Snarl, it allows us to do very well in this matchup. But we do have to shield. The pacing with Air Slash is much worse than Snarl. I believe it's like 5-4 or something to the Aerial Aces. It's pretty, like, Air Slash is just pitiful when it comes to pacing, but it does have some good fast move pressure here, especially into the Shadow Annihilate. But we are going to be able to get switch advantage, and I don't decide that it's worth it. I'm going to go for the farm on Corviknight instead here, or Azumarill, one of the two. I'm going to go for the Azumarill because it's more likely to have play because my Corviknight's almost gone. So I'm going to go ahead and just come in with my Azumarill here, and the opponent comes in with a Shadow Drapion immediately. So thankfully, I didn't give them the extra Poison Sting advantage, but I'm going to go immediately for the play rough here after I get take this crunch. I do have Corviknight left on the field, or in the back, I should say, not on the field. And we'll be able to clear any crunch debuffs we get. And we haven't taken a crunch debuff yet, so I'm going to let this go, and I'm just going to... man. I go ahead and I see the debuff, excuse me, and I immediately pivot out, force the energy off of the Drapion, but they have all 3 Pokemon remaining, so I need to make sure that they can't catch just like they tried to do. And now I need to see if I can't get myself a bubble down here and have an Ice Beam and almost 2 locked and loaded for the opponent when they come back in. They have the Mandibuzz in the back, which is at 1 HP just about, so it would have had to be used for a sack swap or a catch. And the opponent also has the Drapion. Now, they come in with the Drapion, and I'm waiting to see what the typings are. As soon as I see Dark Poison, I fire off that Ice Beam to knock out the opponent's Drapion, and we're going to get 1 bubble through, and could have gotten to the Ice Beam if we needed to, but thankfully we didn't need it, and we'll take that game. Well played. Next game up, we got Corviknight against Drapion. Pretty good lead here, as everything has play into Drapion, which is one of the things I like about this team a lot. And if the opponent is forced to stay in with Drapion, normally what I'd like to do here is go for a shield advantage and then come in with my Annihilate, but the opponent swaps first here. So Corviknight's going to have to toss a move, and then I'm going to look to come in with my Azumarill here. Corviknight did the chip damage. Now we just want to get rid of this Corsola, because if we can keep this away from Annihilate, we are having a good time. If I can avoid that matchup for my Annihilate, I might have a chance, and I love to just save the shields or use the shields on Annihilate whenever I can. I've probably said it already, but just to reiterate it. Nightshade will do quite a bit of neutral damage. It does chunk Azumarill quite nicely here, which is why Corsola has such a good matchup into the Azumarill, because its pacing is just so much better. But the opponent's on their 5 cycle with Nightshade, not going to get the get a move off here. We get the farm down, and we can put some energy into the opponent's Azumarill. Annihilate has nowhere to go right now. Absolutely not anywhere to go here, except for the Drapion, so I'm going to try to retain that matchup if I can, and then see if we can't make Corviknight do something in the back here. I'm going to swap immediately into Corviknight because the opponent has energy, and I want them to throw it into the Corviknight instead of at my Annihilate after getting a farm down. I cannot let the opponent get that farm down. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to make an Iron Head, but 2-shield Annihilate might be able to punch through the rest of this team, so let's find out. It's going to have to come in here, and I'm going to save that Azumarill for a potential switch, switch out for debuffs and things later. Maybe even a catch if I can. So we're going to go for the Rage Fist here. I think I make a mistake, though, and I overfarmed. I should have just gone straight for the Rage Fist as soon as I got it. I'm going to have to shield this up. It's probably just an Aqua Tail. I can't even take an Aqua Tail on this thing, but I also cannot risk there being a crunch. I try to catch on the second Aqua Tail, but the opponent overfarms knowing that they're going to live the next counter, and I have to take this crunch, and that just feels bad. So unfortunately, that misplay is going to cost me this game, and we are going to go down and start to wish I hadn't made that silly misplay. But anyway, we learn from those and get into the next game against the Gastrodon. We're doing very well here. We get the Gastrodon leads, and this is exactly what I want to see. And they're staying in as well, which means that they're probably weak in the back to the Corviknight to some degree. Again, I would expect there to be some sort of poison type or something in the back here, just based off of what I would typically expect to see from Great League teams with a Gastrodon. But they have Water Pulse to be able to hit, and then they come in with a Pidgeot. Flyers are also a premier thing that the Gastrodons will have, and I completely got hosed with this switch. Opponent's going to go for the shield on the Ice Punch, and at this point, I mean, I got to hope that they're like on, Aerial Ace or something. Like, I just need them not to Feather Dance. I'm going to let this go. I'm just going to hope my Azumarill can maybe sweep. Maybe. They Brave Bird the Corviknight. Azumarill comes in. Not getting to the Ice Beam or a farm down here. Opponent, I'm just gonna let this go. If they Aerial Ace me or something, I'm happy. But if they're gonna go for the Feather Dance, I'm off hands, man. Not playing this one. Nope, not happening. That Simul switch was a bad situation for us. Into the next game, something else I started to see quite a bunch of was Dragonite, so we're going to be able to play this matchup out, and I go for the Ironheads right away because they will typically want to go for the Superpower and Dip strat here, and a lot of the times I've seen a Azumarill in the back behind the Dragonite, so it's really nice to be able to get shield advantage here. I can get to 2 Ironheads before they get to 2 Superpowers because the pacing with Sand Attack to Ironhead is the same as Dragon Breath to Dragon Claw, so it takes a couple extra moves, but unfortunately I overtap a couple of Sand Attacks too much, and they're going to CMP here. I'm going to let this go. The Superpower does not knock out thanks to them getting debuffed. I'm going to be able to go for a second move here and go for the Ironhead, get that knockout, and I'm going to come in with my Annihilate, and there is a Shadow Gallade. Now, this is the uncut 2 sets. In the first set and the second set, there was some stuff that I left out intentionally because it was like nonsense teams that hard countered me, and I'm like, I can't show anything here. I can't even go through my thought process, and it was stuff like this. And like, I am all for people running Spice when it no longer matters, but man, is it frustrating to climb when people are running teams like that. So we get a 2-3 on the first set of the day. And now we are like 40 points off, or 35 points off a legend, and we need to clutch a 4-1. And the first opponent makes it easy because I was about to have another one of those fits where I'm like, well, of course I see it. Of course I see somebody running Golisopod here. So next team up, we're going to have Dragonite. Hopefully, going to learn from the mistake from last time here and not overtap. I get a little bit more comfortable with this matchup here, so I'm going to go straight for the Ironhead. And I'm always going to shield that first move, especially if it's going to be one of those superpowers, because if I can at least let the first superpower get shielded, then the second one won't knock out, and I'm going to try to see if I can win this matchup. It's very difficult, honestly. Dragonite is a very difficult thing to play against. Opponent's going to swap out and then come in with an Azumarill. Now, what I'm going to try to do here is see if I can't catch an Ice Beam or at least get 2 Sky Attacks off, depending on how this works. I get the catch, though, because I'm not going to be able to get to the Sky Attack before the opponent gets to that Ice Beam. And this is a nice redirect of energy. We save an Ironhead on our Corviknight for later, just in case we need it against the Dragonite. And I'm going to be able to fire off a couple of play roughs here. And if the opponent wants to come back in with their Dragonite, okay, we have a Azumarill, we wall their energy, and even though they're going to hit us with a play rough, I'm going to save that shield just in case the Annihilate's going to do well in the back. As one of the tropes of teams that if you have a flyer or something in the lead, there's often going to be something, like if it's like Dragonite or something that outright resists fighting, you might see something weak to fighting in the back, like Licky Licky or Dunsparce or something. So I'm going to overfarm on energy to try to make sure that I can get to an Ice Beam before the opponent can get to a move on their Dragonite, and they are going to go ahead and let this go. I do try to undercharge there to get a little bit more farm, but either way, it's the same here. We're going to be able to get this Ice Beam off the opponent. Probably going to look to try and get a farm down, but I'm not going to let that happen. I'm immediately pivoting into Corviknight, but again, the game overtaps a Sand Attack and forces me to CMP my opponent, but the Superpower is perfect here because it lets me get this Ironhead and knock this thing out, and Annihilate hopefully now will be free. The opponent has a Marowak in the back, and this is now extremely difficult. The opponent, however, forced to throw their energy before I get to a move, which is great. Now, I can just come in with my Annihilate. However, because I thought my Corviknight lived that move, I come in with a Azumarill because they're on the same spot on the screen, so I feel like an idiot. So, now the opponent has extra energy that they weren't going to have before, and they're going to get a Bone Club off, and I need to hope that this Rage Fist is going to be enough to knock out. And if it is, then we're going to be able to take this game. So Rage Fist connects with the Marowak, and it's just enough to get the knockout, and we're thankfully skipping along into Game 3 with 2 wins in the final set. Next game in, we got Dugong on the lead. Very, very not great matchup for Corviknight because it has no fast move pressure, and the opponent does get to moves much quicker, or not quicker, but they can shield one and pretty much dominate that matchup. So I'm going to safe switch into my Annihilate here and try and generate some advantage, and the opponent is staying in, which is incredibly interesting to me. So I'm like, okay, that's fine with me. I'll go ahead and save my Annihilate and if the opponent is weak in the back to Annihilate, then I'm going to get these Rage Fists off and try my best to preserve the HP, because if there's nothing in the back that can swap into this, there could be something like Diggersby, could be Dunsparce, could be Diggersby. There's the Diggersby. The opponent swaps in, and we are going to go for this Ice Punch immediately going into a Azumarill afterwards because the opponent took this long to switch. That means the switch timer is very much misaligned again, and once the opponent sees a Azumarill, they're going to go ahead and quit the match, and that is going to be a 3rd win. As we get into game 4, we get an Azumarill lead. We've seen these before. I'm confident I can deal with this Azumarill, but I need to deal with what's in the back as well. So we're just going to play this out the same as we have been, because that's been what's getting me wins. And we're going to go for the Sky Attack. And hopefully the opponent doesn't make any catches or anything that would redirect this energy, because I need to get rid of this. I need to get rid of this thing before my Annihilate comes in. I have seen Annihilates with 2 shields switch against a Azumarill, but the opponent would have the key advantage to just swap out whenever they want. So I don't want to give them the ability to hit me with energy and then dip out. And the opponent makes a very nice catch here on a Mandibuzz. So I see Mandibuzz, and I'm extremely happy, as this is my final game that I need to get a win. If I can go 4-1 in this set, and we're already 3-0, then I'm at a very happy advantage here. And the opponent bringing in a Mandibuzz gets me going, because I'm like, man, I could just come and dominate this matchup. And then we still have Corviknight in the lead with plenty of HP and some energy that can deal with the opponent's Azumarill. So we're going to be going for this play rough after we get up to a bunch of energy, because if they do let this go, I want to be able to farm down and put the energy into their Azumarill. But the opponent makes us shield, a very interesting decision here, and I can let this go. The opponent is going to have to respect this at this point. Like, I'm going to go for this play rough. I was thinking about going into my Corviknight. They're going to have to respect the damage that's going to be coming their way, because Azumarill is about to be removed from the field if they don't. And then we're going to be able to get off a bunch of sand attacks. I was hoping to get the farm down, but unfortunately I miscounted their bubbles, and now I'm a little bit worried, but I'm not super concerned about that Mandibuzz. But the fact that I have to give up a shield here is a problem. The opponent has a Diggersby in the back, and Annihilate is looking really good in this endgame if I can save my shield for it. I'm going to go for a couple of Sky Attacks. Opponent can't really farm me down with their quick attacks, as they're resisted. And if I can, I'm going to try to see if I can get the switch clock to wait. But opponent pivots into the Mandibuzz and now throws energy, opening the way for Annihilate to potentially make a move. I need to be able to get to at least a move on the Diggersby. I need to be able to fire off the Ice Punch. Now, it looks like the opponent, and I made a CMP tie here, the opponent not looking to go for a farm down. They just want to get rid of this Azumarill, which is fine by me. If they had gone for a full farm down, I'd be in big trouble. But the opponent going for that Aerial Ace is massive, because this is going to allow me to farm down the Mandibuzz and come out the other end with a Ice Punch. And as long as I'm not within Scorching Sands range, the opponent's Diggersby cannot knock us out. Now, the opponent makes the switch. They're coming in with the Diggersby. They were not at the move, and we're going for the Ice Punch. If this is enough, we win the game. Ice Punch takes out the Diggersby, and the Mandibuzz can't get to a move. They are only and enough HP for a couple of counters. They go down, and we secure the 4-0, getting into this final game here. Feraligatr on the lead versus Corviknight, extremely uncomfortable, especially into this whole team. This team really does not do very well with Feraligatrs on the lead, but I'm going to try to make the best of the situation. Going for the Iron Head bait, because this is likely to fish a shield off of the opponent's Feraligatr. And then I'll tank a move, and then see if I can't get into Azumarill or something with a shield advantage at least. Because that way, at least a Play Rough will definitely knock out from this range. The opponent goes for Ice Beam, which is an interesting choice to me, and I overfarm by too much once again. The Sand Attack animation or something messes with me, and it's really difficult for me to get the timing properly. So I'm going to go ahead and shield up that Hydro Cannon, and then go for a shield on this, or make them go for a Sky Attack, not a shield. Go shield up their move, go for a Sky Attack, bring in a Azumarill, because their energy is all completely walled here. And if I can land a Play Rough on this thing, I'm going to be looking good. So, depending on what the opponent decides to do here, they are staying in to try and do as much chip damage with this Feraligatr as possible. So, I'm hoping that in the back, they might be weak to Annihilate or Azumarill, and that's really all I have at this point. Opponent is going to go for 4 and a swap. I should have just thrown it right away, but it's a Toxapex in the back. My best bet at this point, get to it. Oh no, it's a Toxapex, it's Tentacruel. Opponent going to go for energy here on this Tentacruel. They're not looking to make a switch out yet because they can't. They just caught, so they're stuck in this matchup. I'm going to go for a undercharge on my Rage Fist, and what I want to do is I want to get a counter down so that I can try and hit that Feraligatr with a move. And the opponent goes for a freaking Acid Spray. And at this point, I'm like, you know what? I shielded an Acid Spray, I could farm down. Nope, they get to another move. I know this one is only an Acid Spray, but at this point, being 4 stages debuffed against this is annoying. And they have a Talonflame in the back. And it is at this exact moment that I'm like, you know what? I got my 4-0. This opponent hard countered me into pieces. Good game. There's nothing I can do here. They have way too much energy on the Gator. They have a Talonflame in the back for my Annihilate. I'm going to concede this game immediately because I know I've lost and they're going to be able to take it. And I hope they also get to Legend as well. So we take the 4-0 and we're going to be able to take these rewards and get to Legend. Just over 3,000, just enough. It was a very sweaty climb here, but I was very happy to finally get it over with. And now I can look forward to focusing on making teams for the upcoming cups and hoping that I can put out some content that's more relevant to a wider, not just my legend climb is always fun. I'm going to be completely honest. I enjoy putting out my progress to legend, but a lot of the fun in the season for me comes afterwards when I get to drop back down to about, I tank. I'm not going to be completely upfront about it. I tank a bit so that I can get content that is centered around elo ranges that more people are probably in, that are looking for teams to climb with, because that's where, people are going to want to watch. So I appreciate it. But thank you all very much for watching. I appreciate all of you who watch these videos, and any of you are new or if you're returning, thank you very much. Please consider subscribing if you enjoy the content, and hit that like button as well. And we'll go ahead and catch you guys in the next one. Thank you once again. Bye-bye.